But I thought, what can I add to this genre? I'm not young. I'm not handsome. Don't argue with me. But I could add vulnerability.
Everything was just very collaborative, very relaxed. There's no egos on this kind of set. Everybody is just chilling on a camping chair somewhere. And I just love that.
People always see him as the funny guy, but like it's weird because like once you see him kind of like doing his, like little choreography and all that stuff, you know what? If this guy play an MMA fighter who has to go back to the ring, like you totally buy it.
I'm on vacation!
Hey everybody, I'm at the Nobody 2 junket. I've got a Mai Tai right here. I got a new friend that I made, and we're gonna talk to Bob Odenkirk, Connie Nielsen, and yeah, maybe even the director of the movie. So let's go for it, right? One of the things, I'm a huge action movie fan, and one of the things that I always really liked about the last movie, and this one too, is that most modern action stars will never take a punch on screen or will get beaten up. And I appreciate the fact that, you make Ketch, as badass as he is, a lot more human. There's something to me more heroic in a guy that'll take his licks on screen. Can you talk a bit about that, your approach to being an action hero?
Well, so I had the notion that I would be able to do an action film in that my character on Better Call Saul, as he was known around the world, is like a hard charging guy who never quits, who's clever, and those qualities fit an action character. And I was willing to train and learn. I really thought that would be neat if they'd let me, which they did. But I thought, what can I add to this genre? I'm not young. I'm not handsome. Don't argue with me. But I could add vulnerability.
Sure.
A lot of the action characters from the last 20 years, whether they're Liam Neeson in Taken or even James Bond or Jason Bourne is one of my favorites, or John Wick, they don't really show any weakness. They don't degrade over the course of the story. I thought, well, I could play a guy who really is in pain when he gets hit and also falls apart so that by the end of the movie you're like, geez, is he gonna make it, And we did that, and people liked it. It was very refreshing in comparison to just the trend of the last 20 years.
Well, you mentioned Jackie Chan when we were talking off camera, and that is kind of one of his staples, and I think that's what made him such an icon. This is probably, both of these movies are like some of the best cast movies I've ever seen. And can you talk about whose inspiration was it to bring in Sharon Stone this time, and then of course Christopher Lloyd in the first one, and the Reza?
Well, Christopher Lloyd was mine. I thought of Chris.
That's awesome.
And I was thrilled that he wanted to do it. The RZA was suggested to us as someone that would be amazing to get. Can't believe we got him, and I got to know him a little bit. He's the best. You've probably interviewed him. He's a student of action film. And he directs action and writes it. I mean, he's a genius. We're very lucky to have the RZA. Sharon Stone was mine, and Colin Hanks was mine.
Colin Hanks, like you've never seen him before. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
See, very effective.
I did Fargo with Colin, and I was like, he's got that sweet face, and I was like, that's our bad guy. Make him the worst, meanest bad guy. And he was so awesome to want to do it. Of course, actors love to play the opposite of what they always get.
What was the most challenging action sequence in this movie? You mentioned the duck boat. I feel like it has to be the duck boat.
Shooting anything on water is hard. And they tried to convince me, don't do it, don't do it. You don't want to do it. Because it's just hard, you're on the water. But it's so worth it. And you have duck boats in these vacation towns. You gotta have the duck boat. And when I went to the Dells when I was a kid, the Wisconsin Dells, we went on a duck boat. I'm here with my family, making memories. So I insisted upon it. The hardest was the finale. It was in the water park, it was at night, it was a week of night shoots. We shot 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. It was rough.
I had interviewed the director of the last one a while ago, and I said that I felt at the end of the movie they really set up the fact that your character had like kind of a hidden badass side, and I was very happy to see, no spoilers, that it played out a little bit in this movie. Can you talk a little bit about how the movies have been kind of doing this slow reveal of like kind of a past for Becca that's a little tougher than you'd assume.
Absolutely. And, I knew that it was there all along, even during the filming of the first one. They all told me that this is what we want to be doing. We want to be exploring their whole past, who were they when they met? How did they meet? And what were they doing at that time, And how is that, what then happened, And we've talked a lot, Bob and I and the producers as well, with what was the decision to go, undercover and living, this life retired away from that, in order to have a family. And we look forward to continuing, exploring what that was.
I mean, I find with action movies, they do tend to lose the human element sometimes, but as kind of heightened, as insane as it gets, I really do believe that there are a couple that's in love and that love their children, and I think that that's kind of a tough balancing act to pull off, and I think a lot of it is due to you because you really kind of humanize your character, and I was wondering if you talk a little bit about that.
Thank you, but I also really think it's Bob's writing.
Sure.
And again, this time, Timo, our director as well, the directors really put like their mark on the stories as well, and Timo really brought some of that magic in there. In addition to Bob's great writing, it's due to that writing that these characters behave in completely realistic and I think emotionally touching ways that I think we all recognize from our own.
One of the things I did want to ask is, it seems that everybody involved with these movies has an uncommonly good time making them. I feel like these are tough movies to shoot, but it seems that they were both kind of a joyful experience. And it seems a lot of it, like Bob is a really cool guy and the directors are all great. What's it like shooting these films?
It's, first of all, super relaxed. People like just hang out. Literally, Bob and I each bought off of Amazon like these camping chairs that
nice.
Tip back so we could chill out once in a while. They would just place them wherever we were. We would just like sit there, and then we'd just sit and work on the scenes while we were waiting to shoot the other scenes. And everything was just very collaborative, very relaxed. There's no egos on this kind of set. Everybody is just chilling on a camping chair somewhere, and I just love that.
How does an actor like Bob Odenkirk, who he looks great on screen, but he's not a professional martial artist like some of the ones that you've worked with in the past, how is that different from working in Indonesia with somebody like Iko Uwais, who of course is a master?
You know what? I hit a stroke of luck of having made like the Shadow Strays, and the Shadow Strays before, which was my film before Nobody 2, was actually my first time working in a hardcore action film without talents who has done martial arts before. Like I work with very talented female talents who never have done like MMA or any martial arts film. In a weird way, Bob is actually, even though he's not a fighter, but like he's very physically capable. And especially, I always say like, you know what? Bob is one of those guys, like people always see him as the funny guy, but like it's weird because like once you see him kind of like doing his, like little choreography and all stuff, you know what? If this guy play an MMA fighter who has to go back to the ring, like you totally buy it. He has this really crazy sinewy muscles. He has this MMA build. So I was like, this is Bob Odenkirk from Better Call Saul. And also one thing for sure, Chris, Bob is really good at memorizing the choreography. He, like we would have been happy with like, okay, like Bob, can you memorize the 2 steps? And he always say, why don't you give me 5 and I see what I can do. And he does the punches, he does the kicks, he does the, like the elbowing and all that stuff. And he can memorize that very well. So I'm still fortunate in that sense,
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.